Tēnā koutou katoa. No mai, haere mai te Whangarei District for Thursday, the 21st of October. I'm going to ask Councillor Connacht to open our meeting with thank you.
Tuia te runga, tuia te raro, tuia te raro, ki whantu ki tau, kia tinihia, kia whakua, kia maramatanga, kia whantu te here wā au. Find all that is above before us, find all that is below after us, find our parts that we may need to use as we seek out, as we search out, as we seek after.
Thank you. As we have an apology from Councillor Peters, and somebody would like to apology be accepted. Councillor Murphy is moving, Councillor Deeming is seconding. Those in favour, aye. Against, carried. And I note also that Councillor Martin is attending via Teams. Councillors, we have one item on our agenda today, the hearing of the proposed amendments to the Trade Waste Bylaw. We've got recommendations on page 1 of the agenda, and can we move those recommendations, please? Councillor Coppero is moving, and Councillor Connacht is seconding. So the recommendations are, the motion is that the Council receives the submissions to the proposed amendments to the Trade Waste Bylaw as provided in attachment 1, and here's the verbal submissions to the proposed amendments to the Trade Waste Bylaw. We had the note in the agenda that all of the submissions that were received are included in our document, and today is our opportunity to hear submitters to their submission. And our first submitter is Whangarei District. Whangarei's submission is on page 53 of our agenda, I believe. Let me just check that. So, this is your opportunity to speak to your submission. We give submitters a 5-minute window to speak, and I'm sure that you could fill 5 hours, but we do limit it to that 5-minute time.
Ngā mihi kia koutou katoa I te kaurihira ārahe o Whangarei District Council. Mihi atu ki koutou katoa. I ngā tini tūpuna I heke mai kia tātou katoa. Moi mai rā, moi rā. I'm taking that you've read my submission, which I just completed about an hour ago. And I have the background support documents available too. So I won't read my submission. I just want to really conclude with the whakatauki aha ko he itu he tama, because this, even though there are a few pages to my submission, it's fairly small in the scheme of things, and I felt quite inadequate to deliver on this subject in such a short time frame. I did go through the documentation provided about the trade waste policy, and I think my first issue might be around the name of trade waste. That might be appropriate for like cooking waste and such like things to do with restaurant businesses and possibly rubbish. But in the issues which Māori in particular are very concerned about to do with the care of tupāpaku, which is the human body, and koiwi toto ate o te tangata, which basically means caring for the human body, bones, blood and organs whilst alive and after death. So that's the main issue of my submission. And as you have read it, I won't go through it, but I think that the Trade Waste Bylaw, I had a question around how many years has the Trade Waste Bylaw been in place. That was a question I thought was okay in this morning. Does anybody know how long that bylaw has been in place?
Look to that start. It's likely, Irene, that we would have had a trade waste bylaw for quite some time, but the latest iteration was completed in 2012 and we're refreshing it now. So I'm pretty confident that there would have been a bylaw in place for a very, very long time.
Right. So there have been rules obviously in place around management of waste materials. So that's a big issue for us, is around the issue of word waste. And I do believe that to really get the concept of how we view the human body and our body parts as extremely taboo, that word needs to be reframed or another word to express the meaning of the chemistry of the body. Because our identity and our whakapapa is traced through our bones and our blood lines, then those issues become very significant and taboo to Māori. I'm wanting to mention a recommendation that Waimari, Kimi and I spoke of last evening around having a panel of commissioners or such like specialists in these issues to achieve what's needed to really get to the core of this issue and how to deal with it. We do have some commissioners in mind, some specialists in mind, but we can discuss those later when we've approached those people firstly to see if they would be willing to be involved and to see what the response of the council is also around that. I want to make special mention of my tupuna, Kawati. When he returned the injured and remains of those who had died fighting together as allies in the battle at Ruakapika. That's on page 5 of my submission. And one of the tūpapaku that he brought home was Tūhaia of Te Wairiki, who he brought to Pukepoto, which is just out in the Glenbervie area between Whangarei and Mumuru. And there he had a dream, a vision, a purpose we call it, a prophecy of what was happening before his very eyes as he battled at Ruakapika and looked at the lands that had been lost already in the 1840s. I've condensed it to the last few lines. And I just want to close with the statement, do not desecrate the sacred covenant endorsed by your forebears. It's the translation of Kawati's pulpiti. Look beyond the sea to the transfiguration of the future. And in our personal experience as a whānau, our tūpuna Maihi, the son of Kawati, whose moka mokai was removed from his body after his death and taken to a museum in Austria, where he remains to this day. And we continue to seek his return. Obviously, that's a violation of the tapu and law processes that I've mentioned throughout my submission, and various other states of tapu to do with life and death, such as the return of babies, the whenua of a baby, which is the placenta, and the many other issues around tapu and law. It's just too short of a time to get into the deeper meanings of things, but I wanted to mention those particularly because they are part of my personal life experience. And so my remedial action for what I've mentioned prior is to participate in ongoing checking of base one and the tech area, which we have in place, and have found very helpful. Have found our first one very helpful, and also getting together with this forum to share ideas. And that's the end of my submission, but I would like to sing a waiata at the end. It might be longer than my 5-minute submission time, I'm thinking, but it was inspired by our Kaparahi o Te Raki hearings, site visits together. So we went out in buses, and I had the privilege and honour of being the MC in the bus with the Crown and Kaumātua and Kuia, and in the Whangarei hearings. And so when I was asked by the other claimants who'd like to drive the hearings, the site visits, and I was like, pick me, I've got a 9-seater van, pick me. So I got to drive Kaumātua and Kuia and a couple of lawyers around to the site visits prior to the actual site visit with the Crown and the Tribunal. And so got to pick which sites of significance were truly significant, the most significant. They're all truly significant, but the most significant that we could fit in about an hour and a half of a bus trip. And I attended, there were 24 hearings, and I attended 22 and 21 of the site visits. So there were 2 site visits in Whangarei, and I sent you the part A and the part B, which was that side of the harbour and this side of the harbour. So I'll sing this waiata, which includes many of the sites of significance, and it also includes the hapu and tupuna involved, and it also includes our tupuna Kawati's property towards the end, and the Whangarei seal, which was a seal gifted to Maihi by Governor called Brown, as well as his name. So many Kawati whānau are called Brown in the north, and that was because Governor Brown gifted them the name, and that's part of my grandfather's name and my great-grandfather's, and Maihi's, of course, he included it in his name. And the Whangarei seal is shaped in that, like it's shaped in the form of a fist. It's made out of ivory, and it's shaped in the shape of Queen Victoria's hand. And in the fingers is a document, a stylised document, and that represents Te Tiriti o Waitangi. And so Maihi was gifted that seal, and with it he sealed documents that he wrote on behalf of the people of Taitokerau and Aotearoa, with the Governor General and the Crown. And Mo means everlasting peace. So Mo is to hold, and Rongo is peace. So enduring peace, everlasting peace. And I and my cousin, my niece, Shelley, Kawati, we are the kaitiaki of those tonga, of that tonga and Kawati's taiha. So we care for 2 tonga, one the weapon, and the weapon of war, and the other the weapon of peace. So it brings a balance, which I brought to the Waitangi Tribunal in the Whangarei hearing recently in Whangarei. So that's right there at the very end of the waiata. All right, I'll get on with it. Te ona o ngā hapu o te raki e ki uta Ngāti hine hono ngāti manu hono ki te kaputai ki tai ngāti wai e Hononga Patikea, Honoki, Natikuta, Verengatahi, Te Wairiki, Natimanaya, Hononga Te Parako, Honoki Te Uriroi, Natikahu o Toromare, Eokutupunae, Toto Kitamare, Mimiti, Hokianga, Te Awonga Rangatira, Pangaroa Te Repo o Nikurani, Tai atu ki kai para, tai timu tai pari, ki mana kalia Hoto te awaere, ki ahi pupurangi, Whangarei te renga parawa, Papakenwae. Paranga Parilaka Manaya Kikori Watawa Kimahurangi Tai Harurue Hononga Wairua Hononga Kano Hikitea Pakaputanga Maramatanga Ona korerue, pakati te namu, ite parani o te puka puka, e kone katahuri, tahuri atuai. Kei takahia e kotau, ngā papagonam. O tata tupuna eta kotone Titiro atu ai Kima taumata teitei O te moana Nui aki wae Maua no te rongo mau Tūtonu mana motu hake, Pakaputanga te tiriti, Aranga tiratanga e. Pakaputanga te tiriti, Aranga tiratanga e. So, ngā mihi kia koe te katoa. Te hononga means the connection. Coming together of all these hapu places and of all of us in this beautiful country. So thank you for considering our submissions. This is a collective submission on behalf of our hapu, Te Huinga and Te Karerea, and on behalf of our community actually, because we've all got to live here and be a part of this kaupapa expo. But important. So, ngā mihi kia koutou, kia koe e te whakamatua. Tēnā koe mō tō pai ara he tana tō tātou i tēnei o Aotearoa e Whangarei. Ngā mihi kia koe mō koutou mō te ngā tini kai mahi, kai kōrero, mā tātou tēnei mahi e hau. Tēnā koutou katoa.
Ngā mihi nui kia koe. Aohanu. Councillors, any questions for Aorangi for her submission? Thank you so much. That's all we have for today. Our next submitter is Whangarei. And again, our submissions, the submission is on page 12 of our agenda. Whangarei, are you able to come and speak to your submission? Whangarei.
Kia ora katoa, te kaunihera o Whangarei Rohe, Takiwa, hia kia katoa. Ko haere tuake rau, haere mai o te kaupapa nei o te Trade Waste Bylaw. So, yeah, tina katoa. I just thought I'd let you know I have a disability, which is a hearing problem. So just in case if you do ask me questions, you have to speak up loud. But so I just wanted to say also to myself and Aorangi, we are related, and I'm also a trustee of the same trust she is, Whangarei Ngāti Korora and Ngāti Taka, but I'm also a trustee of Ngāti Kahi o Tōngare and Te Parapai and Ngāti too. So we strategised last night how we would approach this, and I said to her, well, it's better that we don't repeat the same thing. So I said to her, I'll do this part about a Māori framework and panel, but it's not much in it, and she can do all the other parts because I know she's good at it. Yeah, I'll start my submission. Ngāti Kahi o Tōngare Te Parapai Hapu Trust, which I am a trustee, and Te Waiaki Ngāti Korora Ngāti Takapai Hapu Trust, which I am also a trustee as well. And my submission is on Trade Waste Bylaw, and the submitter is myself, Whangarei Kenny. So my submission, my name is Whangarei Kenny. I submit this submission in two parts, first as an individual, and secondly as a mandated hapu representative of the above trust, I should say with an S. We oppose mortuary waste coming under the heading of Trade Waste Bylaw and propose for a substantial change to be made to reflect that provided in the submission from Tāngata Whenua. Introduction. I read Uri of Te Waiaki, Ngāti Korora and Ngāti Takapai, Te Parapai Ngāti Kahi and Ngāti too, who are not just inland tribes, but they're also coastal tribes. In the Whangarei Rohe, specifically Te Ahipupurangi, which is the Whangarei Harbour, and Whangarei Kiringa Prawa, which is the moana outside the harbour. The Crown has a number of obligations to Māori in respect of the environment. Now, for instance, the Rohe Moana, which the Whangarei Harbour has been currently gazetted, the Rohe Moana by the Ministry for Primary Industry, the Marine Coastal Area, which is the Marine Area Coastal Act, and there are hapus of the Whangarei coastal hapus that have, they have hearings. I think it's judicial hearings as well as hearings set down for 2022 to 23 in terms of the Marine Coastal Area and the High Court and others, such as other acts and legislations like the health board, the hospital boards and things like that, conservation. Now, ensuring Māori ongoing access to natural resources for both commercial and customary purposes. Now, the reason why I have commercial in there because our people are involved in commercial fishing. And so, although we've just got our Whangarei Harbour Rohe customary through the Ministry of Primary Industry. So the fisheries commercial through the provision of quota and customary purposes, and quota and customary through the application of specific tools and regulations designed to recognise and provide for the use
and management of customary practices of Māori. We support the works of those who have stood for the outcomes of the Y1040 and Y262 inquiries, namely the Waitangi Tribunal Y1040 and Stage 1 findings and signatories of Te Tiriti o Waitangi did not see their sovereignty, published 2014, and the recommendations made in Ko Aotearoa Tēnei, published in 2011. We support the protection of taonga and Indigenous biodiversity. We lament the losses and extensions of the last 2 centuries and seek the tools to give effect to Te Tiriti o Waitangi so that the mana of whānau hapu may re-establish the relationships within our hapu rohe in the tai ao, which is the old environment, and te ao tūroa, which is the surrounding environment. Now, the uri are active and knowledgeable about te tai ao and te ao tūroa, and this mātauranga is continually denominated in modern local government management processes. We support the intent of the government approach to implement WISE 262 recommendations and do not wish this to be undermined by the Trade Waste Bylaw. I'm not just saying just Trade Waste Bylaw, there's other bylaws as well. The intent seeks to strengthen tangata whenua role in tūpapaku processes, mortuary waste. In our view, the Trade Waste Bylaw will result in the commercialisation of mātauranga without protecting the manamutuhake or accountability to tangata whenua of customary practices through hapu iwi Māori framework. Now, why I say it results in the commercialisation is because Trade Waste Bylaw, I look at it, well, I see it as being commercial because it's businesses that get council to dispose of their waste, like mortuaries, like the Morris and Morris, what's the other one there? These undertakers in town here, Whangarei Hospital. So, a Māori framework is a Māori framework to identify taonga of significance to tangata whenua with tangata whenua consent. And that can only occur by consultation. You have to go through ngāpuhi nui to get the whakaaro of our people in that area of mortuary waste. Because I don't think, I've never known any consultation whatsoever through ngāpuhi nui. Because I mean, my mum's from Whangaroa, so I know it's not up there. And so by having a panel or whatever it is that can consult with our people, because I know our people, that is a touchy topic. That is not to say you blame the council, it's not their fault. Now, a Māori framework to identify taonga of significant tangata whenua to tangata whenua with tangata whenua consent yet fails to state how tangata whenua will retain manamutuhake over these taonga as promised in the articles of Te Tiriti o Waitangi. Now, this is interesting. When I say how tangata whenua will retain the manamutuhake over these taongas. Now, I'm talking about, when we talk about death, it involves quite a lot of things. It has a relationship with our mountains, our lands, our waters, and everything else. So I'll give an example when we say te awa ko au ko te awa, ko te awa ko au ko au te awa. So we're one and the same with the environment. So these taongas promised in the articles of Te Tiriti o Waitangi. Trade Waste Bylaw to Papaku, it should be bylaw here, is inappropriate and impacts on Māori who have already given so much in critics aspects. The disadvantages created by historic policies of the past. a Māori framework can significantly contribute to enhancing the social, cultural, economic well-being of tangata whenua, managed and using effects management hierarchy where biodiversity offsetting or biodiversity compensation can be considered. Still, a cost to that would still require a panel of qualified persons or persons, which also includes Mātauranga Māori. So I'm saying whether that panel, it doesn't necessarily have to consist of Māori, because how are we to teach our treaty partners? So you make them including, but a lot of our people would prefer to have their own Māori panel, but I said, there's that treaty and care treaty, so how do you give effect to it? So you allow your partner to participate. It is in our view, whānau hapu aspirations and their duty towards the Indigenous biodiversity seen in this bylaw are constrictive and results in external agency deciding what land use results in significant contribution to social, cultural and economic well-being, undermining the mana o te hapu. There is no explicit link to how these mana whenua rōpū will have input into these definitions. Well, like I said, the commercial component, we don't look at to papaku, like mochi waste as a commercial component to dispose of it under that heading of commercial, not at all, because if you understand what the Māori means, Māori covers everything of cosmology, of whakapapa, everything. It's living, it has a life force. So overall concerns about further erosion of whānau hapu manamuti hapu area management plans must give demonstrable effect to the full articles of Te Treaty o Waitangi. We firmly reject the current which refer to the treaty and its principles, and we insist that full protection of whānau hapu role in Te Treaty is given effect to in the development of any Māori framework, not just the principles of the treaty, so I'd say the actions. We said that the Māori framework are explicitly made to protect the mana o te hapu as protected in Te Treaty o Waitangi, which is a separate framework for Māori. We seek the culturally inappropriate discharge of mortuary waste into the waterways of Te Haha to Te Ahi Pupurangi Harbour to stop and make revision in light of this view. Now, Te Haha is Line Berners Creek, or they call it Line Berners Creek. So that's its name, Te Haha. So recommendations, we do not support the present Trade Waste Bylaw for the disposal of mortuary waste into the waterways of Whangarei Rohe. Now, why I put there Whangarei Rohe, we do know that I think it's up Hoti or Hati or whatever you call it. I think they've got a telemetry system, and so when the power goes off, then it overflows, but they've improved now with the technology they've got in place. But in the past, the sewage used to spill out into the, Hoti or Awa or the Hati River. So, we support a Māori panel to develop a separate framework for Māori in consultation with Ngāpuhi Nīwhai. That's it. That's about it. I'm not saying we're going to be that panel. We've got some very educated people out there. Even in, I think, being Orang, you talked about it, was Dr. Brian. He was a forensic, or what do you call it? What was that one? Dr. Brian. Yeah. And coroner. Yeah, well, I'm talking about that. We're not going to be on the panel. You've got to have some educated people that can work with the council and develop something. That's about it.
Thank you for your presentation, your submission, and your wisdom.
Yes. Okay. Any questions?
Any questions for one?
I only got 5 minutes. So that's why I thought I'd either do it brief or just speak to every paragraph if I could. So can I be? Oh, thank you very much. Una era single wife, because she said, okay, because we're talking about two papuku, so I thought because our marae, I belong to Ngara, the Tunua marae, as well as Ngangari, so I better sing a song that doing things like this when it comes to papuku is, and it's my way, my way. Mawaira and Tadima Temai Iwale Matantika Mate Puno Media Wai. So what it's saying, we come from a marae, and so who else to give, talk about tika and pona and hakas, the aroha, so we encompass everyone. In times of grievance to the family, especially when we're talking on mortuary waste, so we always sing that waiata. Yeah. Thank you.
Councillors, there is the only signatories who wish to speak to these submissions today, but I will just remind you that we have other submissions as well. The next steps are that we will be having a deliberations. I'm looking at Rita. Do we know when that will be? Thank you. The indications are that because of this, your raising of this issue, then we actually will probably pause and do some deeper thinking into how we can address the issues that you raised in other submitters. So we will be, I can't tell you today when the deliberations hearing will, will be. But we will definitely let all submitters know when that deliberations meeting occurs, and then we will finalise the bylaw. But it's fair to say that we've raised really important issues around what we are terming as Trade Waste Bylaw, and you are quite rightly referring to as mortuary waste, which may have to be treated differently. So, councillors, that brings us to a conclusion of our hearings for the submissions to our Trade Waste Bylaw for today. I will close the meeting, and quickly reminds me, I actually need to I need to put the motion. Those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. And now I can, just before we close the meeting, I'll ask Rob to give us a closing. Thank you, everyone. And just a reminder that we have another council workshop commencing at 2. So 10 minutes.